Right, let's get more now on England's stunning comeback victory in the first test against India, which was completed yesterday in the most dramatic fashion. For more on this, we can speak to former England assistant coach Paul Farbrace. Paul, brilliant to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, when you think about some of England's sort of greatest ever wins, you think of Headingley 81, Melbourne 2010, Edgbaston 2005, but Hyderabad 2024, the Hyderabad Heist, some people are calling it, it's got to be up there, hasn't it, in terms of England's greatest triumphs of all time?
Yeah, look, I think you always get a bit excited with the recent game, don't you? And it's easy for all of us to say, oh, it's the greatest win that we've ever seen in our lifetime. I genuinely think it is England's greatest Test match win in my time of watching Test match cricket. I can't think of a better win from the position they were in. You know, everyone was talking after day one about the difference between the two sets of spinners. Everyone was talking about the difference between how India played our spinners on that surface. You know, there was a lot of negativity around, even at the end of day two, going into day three. You know, even somebody like me, who is the most optimistic person in the world, I'm thinking, just make a fight of its second innings, make India bat again and try and take some wickets in their second innings to really show some fight. Don't just get bowled out in the second innings. But everything about the way that England played and the way they competed, but just to win it at the end was absolutely outstanding. It really, I genuinely think it is the best win I've seen watching England play Test match cricket.
And Paul, you're talking about that sort of negativity at the early stages, but that kind of came even before that, because there are a lot of people, Steve Harmison included, who are really kind of questioning England's lack of preparation. Where did you stand before it? Were you concerned going into it?
No, the reason I'm smiling is because Stephen and I had a conversation on another media outlet last week or the week before, and I said to him, it's the modern world. England are not going to go and spend 3-4 weeks in India as perhaps they used to in the past. They went to Abu Dhabi. They know the conditions in Abu Dhabi. They know exactly what they've got in terms of facilities. They had the nets prepared how they wanted them to. And it's not a conspiracy theory. When you go to other countries, you don't always get what you want. You don't always get the preparation you want. You don't always get the pitches you want. Well, you're not going to get the pitches that you're going to play on in the Test series. So I think England did the right thing. And I'm not being wise after the event. I said to Harmy last week, this is the way that England are going to play. But actually, it's that their preparation is one thing, but it's their mindset and the way they approach the game. And to hear Tom Hartley talking about how the team supported him, how Ben Stokes captained him, that for me is the reason that England have had this fantastic run of Test match wins under Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes. And I've said many times, it's easy to talk about being aggressive, proactive, take the game on, play the game on the front foot, all those things that you talk about. But actually doing it is a different thing. And to stick to their principles. And the one thing that I hoped that going to India, they would stick to their principles of playing the game how they want to play it. And I think they showed over the last few days that it works for them and the players are comfortable playing that way.
Yeah, and you mentioned Ben Stokes there. He now has a remarkable 14 wins from 19 as a Test captain. So many of those as well, Paul, have just been so unforgettable. We've always known he was this leader, but it feels like he's just growing into that role all the time.
Yeah, look, he's a smart guy. He's got a good cricket brain. He's fantastically popular amongst the team, and he doesn't ask his team to do anything that he's not capable of doing himself. And he sets, if you go back to when he started as a Test match captain, there was a lot of media talk at the time, a lot of pundits talking about him being reckless. But what he was doing, he was trying to show his team it's safe to play a very positive, aggressive, and very exciting way of playing the game. And if you play that way and you play the way the team want you to play, he'll keep backing you and picking you. You look at the way that he's captaining his bowlers, the way that Jack Leach has come on unbelievably, leaps and bounds. He gave Leachy opportunities to bowl in this Test match. And we know that, he had an injury, but he bowled him at really key times to say to him, you're my man, I'm backing you. And you could see the way that he was setting fields. Even when Tom Hartley in the first innings was being hit for boundaries, he wasn't spreading the field back. And there was a lot of people saying, oh, that's really poor captaincy. But it wasn't. It was actually giving Tom Hartley the confidence to say, don't worry, I'm right behind you. When the game starts to come our way, when it starts to spin a bit more, and it's a bit trickier, this is how we're going to play. And I think, Ben's just his personality rubs off on this team. And very often teams play in the personality of their captains, their coaches, their managers, whatever sport you're talking about. And in this Test match team, they're very much playing in Ben Stokes' personality. And he did say, buckle up, it's going to be an exciting ride. And goodness me, it certainly has been, hasn't it?
Has been so far. One of those players I want to focus on for a moment is Ollie Pope and his innings. I mean, is that one of the best that you've ever seen on the subcontinent?
Well, I think we're seeing, again, we're seeing a young man who has really developed from being a very exciting player with a lot of potential to now a player who absolutely looks the part when he walks in. And in the last couple of years, when he's dropped back into county cricket and, England haven't been playing and he's scored runs in county cricket, it looks as though, this bloke is playing on a different pitch. Is very... he bats with a real authority, and perhaps in the first innings, having not played, dislocated shoulder, surgery last summer, hardly played any cricket. And again, he took a bit of criticism in the first innings for perhaps being a bit frenetic, and he didn't look like he was as calm as he could have been at the crease. But the second innings was absolutely magnificent. I mean, it has to be one of the best innings an Englishman has played in subcontinental conditions. But the great thing is he looked to be proactive all the way through. He looked to be positive. It wasn't a case of surviving. It wasn't a case of just hang in there, because he knew that you're going to get out at some point. So you might as well score as many runs as you can before you actually get out. And in the end, that was the difference between the way that India played second innings and the way England played second innings. England were a lot more positive, and, Ollie Pope just led the way. He just looks like a real class act. It shouldn't surprise us, because I can't believe Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes would have given him the vice captaincy if they genuinely think he's a player who's going to be in the England team for the next 10 years. And the way that he played, the way he scored his runs, the way he was positive, the way he took the attack to the Indian bowlers in tough conditions, it was absolutely sensational to watch. And, he deserved not only to be man of the match, he deserves to be man of the series for that innings alone.
Can't disagree with that. I want to ask you about Tom Hartley as well. You mentioned him a minute ago when we were talking about Ben Stokes, but how impressive was his performance, and maybe even more so the fact that he took that bit of treatment in the first innings as well?
And, you run up and bowl your first ball in a test match, making your debut, and you bowl a good length ball and it disappears over mid-wicket for 6. I shouted out when that went, because it was just like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And I'm sure Tom Hartley was. You hope that you ease yourself in. You might get knocked for a couple of singles and you ease yourself into your spell. But, it shows, again, what it does show is that the England selectors, in consultation with Lancashire, have picked a player that they genuinely believe has not only the ability, but the mental strength and the capacity to deal with international cricket. Because when you go at almost 10 and over in the first innings, you've got to come back and you're relying on that bloke to help you take wickets, to help you win the game. There's lots of little things. Lancashire will have known him well. They'll have given a really good appraisal of his ability, his mindset and his capacity to cope with being under pressure. We've also seen, in the 100, live on television, big crowds, we've seen he can cope in those situations. But then coping in test match cricket against one of the best teams in world cricket, even without Kohli at the side, they're still one of the best teams in world cricket. 3 defeats, in the last 10 years at home or something ridiculous like that. Only, last 44 games they've won at home in test match cricket. So to show the resilience that he showed means that he's obviously in a fantastic environment in that England dressing room, that they're looking after him. But it also tells you a lot about Tom Hartley as a cricketer, as a person. Forget his ability to spin the ball. Forget his ability to land the ball on a length consistently as he did in the second innings. But it tells you an awful lot about him as a person. The fact that he batted the way that he did as well. That showed that he's got something about him. And his runs in both innings were absolutely vital. That they were crucial runs for England. But it tells you more about him as a person than perhaps it does about him as a bowler, I think.
Yeah, very well said. And just looking forward to the second test then, you mentioned obviously no Virat Kohli in that first one. He won't be there for the second one either. KL Rahul, Ravindra Jadeja, they're out the second test as well. It feels like this is such an opportunity for England here.
It's a huge opportunity. Kohli out of their side with his personality, a bit like Stokes, when you've got a big personality like Virat in your side and he drives your team on, he expects to win every session, he expects to win every over. Sometimes he frustrates you when you watch him because he's always appealing, he's always in the game, but he drives that team on. He has changed the Indian team over the last few years as being captain. So for him not to play, then to lose Jadeja, and Jadeja is, I think, one of the best cricketers in world cricket. I've said many, many times, again, his approach to the game, the way that he fields, the way that he bats and bowls, he takes the game on. KL Rahul looks in great touch. So to lose all 3 of them for the next test match, really does give England a fantastic opportunity. But, that England team, I don't think they'll be thinking and getting too carried about winning that game. I think they'll be saying, this is a brilliant opportunity. And I've said a few times before this series, winning in Australia, winning the Ashes is one thing. But I think as an England cricketer, to win a series in India will be a series that you'll remember for the rest of your career. And this is an opportunity now that the England team have got. It's a different sort of pressure now because, a lot of people have written them off. That England team hadn't written themselves off. They know they're capable of winning anywhere. Now people are starting to believe that they can win, and perhaps the pressure changes a little bit. But I don't think it would change the way that Brendan McCullum and Ben Stokes think. I don't think it would change the way that the team will play. And I fully expect England to go to Vizag and play exceptionally good cricket. It'll be hotter there. It's right on the coast. It's a tough pitch. It will bounce and it will spin. And I think it will spin a little bit more than Hyderabad. And it's really interesting that already the Indian media are talking about maybe leaving a seamer out and playing an extra batter to give them a bit of protection in the middle order. That shows how perhaps certain pundits and the media start to change their mind after just one game of a 5-match series.
Yeah, looking forward to it already. Paul, just lastly, it's been, of course, a brilliant few days for Test cricket away from England, though. I mean, how heartening was it to see that brilliant win for the West Indies?
Yeah, fantastic. It was a brilliant day for Test cricket. Australia losing a Test match at home against the West Indies side, and that West Indies team had taken a lot of stick. The Aussie media are pretty cruel to visiting teams, and they've given the West Indies team a lot of stick. There's been a lot of talk from the West Indies end about how much money it's costing them, no support from the ICC. But to go there and to win that Test match and win the way that they did, absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant. And look, we all love T20 cricket. We all love the razzmatazz of a fast, exciting game. But you can't beat a fantastic game of Test match cricket. And over the last 4 days, we've seen 2 brilliant Test matches. And the great thing is we've got 4 more to go in India, and England have got an unbelievable opportunity to create fantastic history. And the way that they've started, I can't wait for the next Test to start. And, I'm desperate to see them do well again.
You and me both. Paul, thank you so much for coming on. Always great to chat to you. Hopefully we'll be having this same chat after the second Test.
I look forward to 4 more chats. It would be lovely, wouldn't it?
It really would. Thank you very much. Chat to you soon.
Thank you.